Captain Jack here. The good old 7800. It was supposed to be the successor to the Atari VCS, or 2600, and it never really took off the ground, coming in a distant third place that generation behind the NES and the Master System. And that was partially due to the, at this point, tarnished name of Atari, the lack of a more modern sound chip to preserve backwards compatibility with the 2600, and I kid you not, the system was ready to go in 1984 and literally sat for 2 years until its release in 86. And by then, the system was already showing its age. Surprisingly, the 7800 has a small but dedicated homebrew community, much bigger than you may think. And this is probably due to its more popular older brother that has arguably the biggest homebrew community for a retro console. There's quite a range here, from fan-made sequels to 2600 games, arcade ports, or just entirely brand new titles. Anyway, let's get started. Starting out with an absolute banger, Baby Pac-Man is a conversion of the rare Baby Pac-Man video pinball machine, which is exactly what it looks like. You play a little game of Pac-Man, and then by going through the exits at the bottom, you can play a game of pinball to earn power pills and the like. And the Atari 7800 version is not only the first conversion of this game, it's also pretty good. The ghosts here are quite a bit leaner and meaner than your run-of-the-mill Pac-Man game. But you can always escape into that pinball section below, with the 2 buttons controlling the paddles and the joystick shaking the machine itself. Baby Pac-Man is kind of a weird port exclusive for the 7800. There really aren't any other ways to get the full experience of this game outside of some very specific emulation and simulation combos, and for that reason, it's an absolute must-play. Scramble is a port of the 1981 arcade title of the same name, and this is a pretty honest take of that game. It's one of the first side-scrolling shooters, if not the first. You'll be blasting through the 6 areas, and if you get through all of them, you'll start over again. There aren't really any stages with different scenery per se, but the constant, almost drug-induced color changes and unfolding action makes up for it. You'll use the 2 buttons to shoot bombs and bullets, and the bombs might look worse, but they're absolutely necessary to pick off fuel tanks on the planet's surface. How shooting something with fuel in it actually gives you the fuel inside, I don't know, man. Besides some missing graphical detail, everything is here in this version of Scramble. And it's a little bit of an unknown game, but I'd give it a try. It's basically the forefather to Gradius. Bentley Bear's Crystal Quest is one of the best platformers for the 7800. I would say the best, but, well, there's one game that gives it a run for its money that we'll be seeing very soon. Either way, it's in the top 2. This one has it all. Gorgeous pseudo-multi-layered backgrounds, a sound chip for more advanced audio and music, and plenty of creatures to blast through with your crystals, I think? Crystal Quest is sort of a sequel to Crystal Castles, a 1983 Atari-released arcade game, and it takes many of the same characters from that game. And oh boy, are there a lot of characters. One gets introduced every round. So by round 8, you'll have 8 different enemy types to worry about, each with their own movement, behavior, and amount of hit points. There's a boss at the end of each level, and the whole game controls pretty well. One button jumps and the other button runs and shoots. Don't run too fast here though. I found that taking it slow and steady keeps you alive longer. Astro Blaster is a pretty obscure Sega-published arcade shooter from 1981, which almost sounds like I'm repeating myself from 2 games ago. It's got this absolutely cool voice synthesis at the beginning,
Fighter pilots needed in sector wars. Play Astro Blaster.
And then you're dropped into the fray. You'll have to blast away at waves of enemies while making sure you don't overheat your guns, which would make you defenseless for a short period. Time is ticking too, as your fuel is constantly depleting. And this combined with the slightly lower enemy difficulty makes for a game where you're really racing against the clock while managing your gun's heat more than actually getting challenged by enemies. Astro Blaster is a unique one for sure. Comparing the arcade version to the 7800 port, per usual, it has slightly reduced graphical fidelity, and actually the other voice clips outside of the title screen have been removed. But really, the fact that they preserved any voice synth at all is amazing, and this odd little arcade game really gets a new life on the 7800. Night Guy in Low Res World is pretty unique. Made by VHZC, a pretty prolific Atari 2600 homebrew developer. Night Guy is the result of him dipping his toes in the obscure, strange 7800 world. And the result is great. This is basically a puzzle platformer that has you survive traps as you travel room to room. It plays to the 7800 strengths, with sprite work that approaches Sega Master System quality while having the sound effects of a game from a decade earlier, which is just what you're gonna get with the 7800 without a sound chip. You'll select your pet at the beginning, and that's who you'll have to rescue, and it will take you 99 rooms to do it. Imagine if at the beginning of a Mario game you could pick between Daisy or Peach to rescue. Never mind. It's kind of funny that the title of this game is Low Res World. As being the first 7800 game this developer has produced, it's the highest res game he's ever made. Dragon's Havoc is one I really wasn't hearing much about when looking up homebrews for this list, but I just had to include it. This is a fantasy-themed side-scrolling shmup that is one of the prettiest games on the system. Seriously, games like this and Bentley Bear shows why the 7800 really did have the power to rival the NES, when the sound's turned off. Stages come in packs of 3, outside, then inside, then a boss. Then you'll start over, 7 times in all. And these backgrounds for the outside stages are absolutely gorgeous, with the tiles strip scrolling at different speeds, and it just looks seriously great. It's probably time to mention Dragon Havoc's unique meter at the top here, that fills up every time you land a shot, increasing your speed and, eventually at max meter, giving you a shield that can block one hit. But every time you miss a shot, the meter will go down, and your dragon will literally slow down as a result. This means you'll be very cautious when shooting at enemies. There's no spray and pray here. Top this all off with a simultaneous 2-player mode, and I don't know, but this might be the best shmup on the system yet. Saving maybe the best for last, Rikki Vikki is a puzzle platformer that doesn't even look like it's running on the hardware. This game stars 2 fox parents on their way to rescue their children from the Misery Dragon, and it's just dripping with style and personality from head to toe. On its face, it's a pretty simple game. Collect all the keys to complete the level. And you can't even die by falling off the edge, you'll just loop back up to the top. But then things start getting added in. For starters, this game is really a 2-player experience, with the levels completely changing when you play with 2 people. You'll use the boxes to build platforms, carry the other player, and hold down buttons as you make it through these increasingly difficult levels, with every 10 having a boss at the end. And these bosses are completely different characters and fights, depending on if you're playing through the single or 2-player adventure. By now, you can definitely hear the catchy, swingy music in the background, and who said the 7800 can't have great music? Well, I think I did several times in this video alone, but not only does Rikki Vikki have a sound chip, it's the most advanced one in the library. It's a brand new chip, but it still sounds period accurate, although it has many more voices and is much more flexible than the sound chips found in other enhanced 7800 games. The great use of the black background filling in the gaps graphically, along with that killer soundtrack, makes this an incredible title. And if you play just one game on this list, try this one. It's truly in a league of its own. If you can find a copy, they are impossible to get a hold of. Just play the Steam